Hey everybody, when it snows, I always seem to have a snowblower pop up for me to repair. So here we go, we have a Craftsman 24-inch with electric start snowblower. Does it say, it just says 208, I can't read it from up here, but it has a motor, okay? So guy dropped it off. You can see there's tons of cobwebs on it and it's been sitting. So let's take a look. First thing, let's check the oil. Oil looks brand new, clean. This thing does look brand new. Let's pop the cap off. Of course, you put gas in it. Let's take a sniffy. And the gas smells good. All right, so we have the key. The key is in. Choke is on. So we have it on, that's turtle, that's rabbit, put it on rabbit. Let's hit the primer bulb a couple times. Luckily, this one does have electric start. Plug the electric start in, and let's push the button and see what it does. Okay, we have absolutely nothing. So the easiest thing to do is to check for spark. So but I bet you the carburetor's clogged up. Yeah, the carburetor's right here, and it feels kind of already, the outside of the carburetor is gummy. So, all right, well, let me get something to test for spark, and we'll come back and make sure it's got spark. And once it does, we will go ahead and probably pull this cover off to get to the carburetor, so it's easier, a little bit easier to get to. All right, I got my handy dandy little spark tester. These are really good to have, especially when you're by yourself. So we just go ahead and we'll hook that up. Basically the light hooks into this plug wire and the other one plugs into the plug. So let's hit it and let's see if this flash is good. Now I know the camera's not picking it up perfectly, but it is flashing perfectly. So obviously we have spark. It is a definitely fuel related problem. So let me get some tools and we'll start pulling this cover off to get to the carburetor. Maybe we can just do a mini clean on this one where we just take the float bowl off and clean it, or I might have to take the carburetor completely off and completely clean it out. So let me get some tools and we'll get this cover off. It looks like this cover has a bolt here, a bolt here. There's a bolt in there and maybe one up front. You set this lever to the center. There's a spot in here where you can set this where you don't have to pull this handle off, but I do believe you don't have to pull this up. So let me get this cover off and we'll come back. All right, as you can see from the time warp, there's 4 screws and then this cover comes out, and you don't have to pull this lever off. I have done that in the past, but now they have like that little notch right here where that lever will come out, but you still have to pull the choke lever off to get that done. And then this is the primer bulb vacuum line, and then right here this is the switch that obviously, let's see, not sure exactly how that works. I don't know if it grounds them or it keeps them apart. I'm not sure. We'll just keep the switch in there for now. Looks like I could peel this off and then that'll just sit. Yeah, that'll just sit there. All right, so next thing, there is no gas shutoff. Here's the fuel line coming in. There doesn't appear to be a fuel shutoff. So I'm worried if I take the drain out, if gas is just gonna pour. It's actually, it looks like it's already leaking. So I know I'm getting gas at least this point the carburetor probably is all clogged up. Let me get a pair of pinch off pliers and we'll pinch off this, and we'll go ahead and just pop the float bowl off real quick and see what it looks like inside. All right, so a pair of pinch off pliers. I found a pair of needle nose vice grips we'll put there, and I think I should just be able to come right in here. 10 millimeter, and take this out. Oh yeah, look at that nasty stuff at the end of the at the end of this bolt that holds the float bowl on. So let's get this off of here. Oh yeah, pretty nasty in there. This is what happens when you leave the gas in your snowblower or any power equipment. The alcohol in it just tears it up. It's really bad. So I think we're gonna probably have to go ahead and take this carburetor apart. Let's just check and make sure it flows. Yep, see the fuel is flowing, so that's good. I think we're gonna go ahead and pull this carburetor completely off the machine. So one thing you wanna make sure is you remember where the linkages go. So there's just 2 more bolts here and the fuel line. Let's go ahead and bust these 2 nuts off. I would try to do a mini clean on this, but this is just so bad. So now this piece should come off. Oh, that's right, forgot. Really, you need to take these 2 Phillips screws out and separate this so you can get the choke, so you don't break the choke rod. All right, let me get the Phillips screwdriver and get the 2 Phillips screws out, and we'll continue on. Yep, I forgot that you have to take out these 2 Phillips screws first, so you can separate this. So see, now you can separate it and get this apart a lot easier. Now this is the PVC hose right here that you can just squeeze to get it off, and there's the gasket. Snowblowers don't have air filters because they'll could get ice and freeze. So basically that's the air inlet, because there's no air filter on a snowblower. Okay, I should have grabbed a pair of needle nose for this. All right, so as you can see, the carburetor's already loose. I need to get the fuel line off, so I need another tool, and then we got to get the fuel line off, and after that I should be able to slide the carburetor completely off and disconnect the linkage, and I'll show you where the linkage is, but I'm going to need a pair of needle nose. Okay, I got a pair of needle nose. We're going to disconnect the fuel line here. It's got a spring clamp and then the line. I try to get the camera at the angle so we can see the linkage, so I could show you how the linkage comes off. Fuel line's fighting me a little bit. Here it goes. All right, fuel line's off. Now I'll show you this. This inlet is all nasty. So let me slide you in a little bit closer. Okay, so the linkages are right here. So as you pull this out, it opens the throttle blade up. And once it opens the throttle blade up, you can reach in here. You really don't even need a pair of needle nose for this one, but then this rod will lift right out. Now with the spring, same thing. You just want to grab the spring with a pair of needle nose and come off. Now you don't want to let these things fly back, because you don't want them disconnecting. Then you have to take off other stuff. So now, once all that stuff's out, there's the carburetor. And you can see how nasty and ooky pooky it is. So, alrighty, let's get over on the workbench and we'll start disassembling it and see if we can clean this up. Alrighty, well, we're up on the workbench, and as you can see, this is the bolt that holds the float bowl on, and it just has this terrible growth on it, so that's pretty nasty. Usually with these, I'll just take a wire brush and I'll clean these off, or take it over to the wire wheel on the grinder and clean that off. And I do like taking and busting. This is the drain. This is what you're supposed to drain it with. And we'll clean that off too with the wire brush, or go over, take it to the wire wheel on the grinder. This for right now, look how nasty that is. Pretty nasty. Probably should get a picture of that on my camera. So I have a picture of that. Alright, got a picture. So I have my gunk parts cleaner complete. This is a carburetor cleaner kit. It's got a little basket in here. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the float bowl in that, and we'll set that on back down in there. Yeah, it's in there. All right. So first thing, let's go ahead and get the float off of this. So there's a pin. You just want to take a pair of needle nose or pliers, pull the pin out. Once the pin comes out, this will come out. So that's your needle for the needle and seat. We'll go ahead and slide that off of there so we can clean it. And this, see this flaky stuff? We've got to get all this off of here, or it will flake off and clog up the main jet. So luckily it's plastic. Well, I don't like plastic, but anyway, that's another story. We'll just go ahead and get this all flaked off and cleaned off really good. Same with the needle. We'll get this cleaned off really good. There's the needle. Actually, this one I probably should be putting all these parts in here so I don't lose them. So there's all the parts. So now in here, there is a jet in here, and it is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get enough light in here for you to see too much light. Let's see if I can get this turned on. Okay. Can you all see how nasty and gummed up it is? You can't even see the seat. So I'm going to go in here with a screwdriver. Yeah, look at that. It's like earwax almost. Come in here and try to get some of this out of there so I can figure out which way this goes. Okay. All right, yeah, there we go. Got my screwdriver in there, taking the main jet out. Look at all that stuff peeling off of there. We'll get all that stuff cleaned up. Come on, jet, come on out of there. And also too, that hole is clogged. That's where the fuel flows in to get to the main jet. And same over here, it's all clogged up. The main jet does not want to come out of here even though it's completely unscrewed. Might have to... There we go. All right, and the emulsion tube. So basically, you have the main jet and the emulsion tube, and you can see the emulsion tube is all clogged. There's all these little holes that we'll have to clean. So for right now, we'll go ahead and put the emulsion tube and the jet in there and let that soak. Yeah, I try not to soak the bodies because there are plastic on the bodies. So what I'll just do is I'll come in here with a wire brush. You got to clean the hole out because it's completely clogged. we will clean. You can see that this is doing a pretty quick job of cleaning this up. You could see that the gas was up to this level here, and that's as high as the gas level was. So we should be able just to clean this out. We'll blow it out with compressed air. I'll get some 2+2 gum cutter and go through all the spray it out. Oh, and we're gonna have to take this off too. There is another jet underneath this plastic piece. This is the idle screw, so we're gonna have to take the idle screw out. Usually I like to screw them in. Oh, it's a double D. Was my screwdriver gonna work on that one? Yeah, it will. What I like to do is I like to screw these in all the way, count the turns, so then I know how far to put it in. So let's go half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, about almost 5. So we'll go ahead and take this all the way back out. And you want to look here and see how far it sticks out. So we'll pull this off. So if you don't clean this jet out here, the machine will run. Okay, now this is just a plastic cap that will pop off. All right. I'm sorry, I haven't done one of these in a while. Actually, the jet is built into this little plastic cap, and you can see it looks like it's pretty well nasty and clogged. So we'll clean this out with some gum cutter, make sure it's good, and now we'll just go ahead and clean out the rest of this really good. We'll let this soak for a couple hours, and I'll come back and we'll do the reassembly after I get everything clean. Alrighty, so I have a little gum cutter, and I've just been basically spraying these parts off with some 2+2 gum cutter. I really like this stuff. So the carburetor is pretty nasty, so I went ahead and I have the bottom half submerged in the cleaner. Like I said, I don't want to submerge the whole thing because of the plastic parts it has on it. So all this stuff is soaking, getting cleaned up. This other emulsion tube here, I have taken my torch tip cleaning tool and have run through that. Now that is soaking. So when I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, maybe I should look a little bit closer at the gas. So I'm glad I did. So you should always do this too. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you or not, but inside the gas tank is a mess. It's got all this stuff. I don't know if you can see it or not. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up, but it's got all that floating stuff in there. So we're gonna have to drain the tank and clean the tank out also. I have grabbed a glass jar, and I'm gonna go ahead and drain everything into the glass jar. Don't know if I can get you to sit good enough here or not. So just going to go ahead and drain it into the glass jar. So the glass jar will probably sit right about there. Tank's not full at all, so we'll let this drain, and hopefully some of that crap that's inside the tank will come out. I might have to pull the tank off to clean it out. Hopefully not. Hopefully I can just start, I get a rag and some stuff in there. This one I think might have room to put a fuel filter in. I don't have any fuel filters here. They're all at home, but we'll see if I can get a fuel filter in this one. Don't know what we're gonna do yet. But I got the carburetor soaking. We're draining the gas, and as soon as the carburetor has been soaking for a couple hours and I get it all cleaned up, I will come back and show you the reassembly. Alrighty, well, it's the next day, and I went ahead and I've cleaned all these parts off. I used some 2+2 gum cutter, which is great, and I still have the float bowl in the parts cleaner. But let me go over here. So I've got the float and the needle and seat reassembled, and I've got it all nice and cleaned off. There's the float rod, nice and cleaned off. That's the idle speed screw, so I didn't do anything with that. Here are this is the bowl
bolt that holds the bowl on. See, I cleaned the schmeg off that. Sorry, let me pull back a little bit. Here is the drain. I cleaned that off. Now this is the idle jet, air bleed something. Well, I noticed that this, let me get a screwdriver, that this lower O-ring on it was missing, and it still had its upper O-ring. Well, luckily, I happened to buy this from Harbor Freight. This is the 225 piece O-ring set. These are really, really small. So the O-ring that fits that one is a 1/8 by 1/4 by 1/16 right there. They're super small. So this is a really nice kit to have. I also picked up a fuel filter that I do believe we bought these up at Carlisle, Pennsylvania. So I have a fuel filter to put in it, and you can see how nice and clean the carburetor body came after soaking it in the carburetor cleaner. And I used gum cutter and compressed air everything off. I made sure that all the gum is out of that. I opened up those passages there with my torch tip cleaner. So let's take a look and see how the float bowl is done. I got this stuff all over me last night, and I went home smelling like carburetor cleaner. Here we go. So there's the float bowl, and it definitely looks like it came pretty clean. The two jets are in there too. Let me get the rag. Oh, here, actually, here, I'll do this. Set it down in here. There we go. So you saw how bad the float bowl was yesterday. So I'll clean that up with some gum cutter. There's the two jets in there. Let me go rinse all this stuff off, and I'll come back. I'll show you how to clean the emulsion tube and the jet, and we'll clean this up. So let me get this stuff rinsed off, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, as you can see, I did not scrape or do anything to this float bowl. All I did was put it in the parts cleaner overnight, the gunk parts cleaner overnight, and see how good it is. So I am going to take some gum cutter, and I'm going to rinse this out real good with some gum cutter, inside and out. Use a shop rag, then I'll blow this stuff off with compressed air. So there's the next piece, set that there. All right, here is the main jet, and you could not, I don't know if you can see the light through the main jet. Yeah, you can. That was clogged, so now that is not clogged. So we are going to take and also use a wire brush, and we are going to clean this up this way, and we're going to clean it up all the way around. This is way too small, I think, but we're going to run this through here. This is a torch tip cleaning tool. We're going to take and clean out the main jet, and then once we're done with that, we will take some gum cutter and spray through it. Off camera, I'm going to check that again. So that's basically done now. So I'll set all this stuff there. All right, so the emulsion tube. This emulsion tube is kind of hard to see, but it has a bunch of holes. It's got 3 up here, 2 up here, and same thing all the way around. That's why you need this torch tip cleaning tool. You need to start at those 2 holes. See how it goes all the way through? So you want to run this through all these holes to make sure they're open. Actually, there's 1 down, there's 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top. This one was so clogged I couldn't see it. All right, so there's the first 6, and actually the 6 on the other side. So now we're going to do the other side. Yeah, these torch tip cleaners are really nice because they're almost like a file to help clean the stuff out. Another cold day here. The heater is running forever. Sorry about the background noise. And then we have a couple up here. We'll probably get a different size to run through those. And then we'll find a different size to run all the way through the center. Then what I like to do is I like to take the gum cutter once again. I like to try to block the back hole and then spray gum cutter through it to make sure that all the holes are clear. See how it's spraying out of all the holes? You just want to be sure it's spraying out of all the holes. Clean that off real good. All right. Let me go ahead and open this up. We'll do this now. This has a whole bunch of different sizes. So here's a really big size. Will that fit down in there? Yep. So I'll run that through there. Make sure that's nice and clean. And actually, this, let's see if we can find the right size for this. That's actually a little too big. It won't go all the way through it. That one goes all the way through. Okay, well, it looks like we got everything cleaned up. All the holes are open. We're just going to brush this off. Okay, all those holes are open. I can see light through. I can see light through. Okay, this one I cannot see light through again. So you get the gist of it. We just take and clean all the holes, and I'll take some more gum cutter and blast this out. All right, I think we have all the parts ready for reassembly. Now I'm gonna have to go back in the video because I can't remember how many turns this thing was out, but we'll worry about that later. So for right now, we'll go ahead and put this idle bleed or idle thing back in. Let me go ahead and get the wire off of this. So it has a flat spot and a flat spot. Okay, so that falls in, and that flat spot sits right there against that carburetor. Do I have to blow this out with gum cutter yet? Let me go blow it out with gum cutter. Yeah, it's open. I already cleaned this one out. This has got a really, really tiny hole. So then this just fits back in this hole here, like so, and then it pushes down. You might have to put a little lube on this O-ring, it's not going in all the way. Maybe this one I put this O-ring on, maybe it's not supposed to have that O-ring. Some of them do have a double O-ring, some of them don't. Well, that doesn't seem like it wants to go in there. Let me pull that O-ring back off. Maybe this model doesn't have this O-ring on the bottom. Pull that back off. Okay, this one does not have an O-ring on the bottom. I thought it was missing, but it doesn't require that O-ring. All right, so we're back on there. So now we put the idle screw back in. Like I said, I'm gonna have to go back to the video. I usually write it down on the workbench. But we'll go ahead and put it back in where it was. That's about where it was sticking out, so that should be good enough for now. I'll check the video and go from there. All right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to put the emulsion tube back in. So the emulsion tube, this end goes up in, this is closer to the jet. So if this goes in this way, plunk, it's in. Now comes the jet. The jet goes in with the slice down, so you could take and put a screwdriver on it. Make sure your screwdriver is clean. We're gonna get in here. There we go. And we're gonna tighten that jet back down. And tighten it so that's nice and tight. All right. So we have our float and our needle. It's all clean. I already did that last night. I'll just blast it off, needle a little bit again. So now the needle falls into that hole. I already cleaned the base last night and blew everything out. Yeah, it looks good, looks good. I already did that last night. So I did take compressed air and blow the whole body out really good. So now this goes in here. And then our rod goes back in for the float. So then what you want to make sure is you want to make sure that the float moves freely. Rod's in. The only thing that holds the rod is this. So the carburetor mounts on the machine this way. So we want the drain to be accessible. So we'll put the drain pointing out. All right. So then you want to make sure that your rubber O-ring is in there, which it is. We're going to put this float bowl back on. This is the float bowl holding nut. Put that back on. This is the drain for the float bowl. That goes there. It's a 10 millimeter on this one. Sometimes they're 13 millimeter. You want that tight. And I know this has a Phillips head, but I'm going to use the wrench to tighten it tight. Okay, so there, the carburetor's all done. We just need to put it back on the machine. Actually, I guess I should have done this before. I'm going to clean this off and try to make sure none of the dirt goes down into the carburetor. Actually, that's just a bunch of rust. It's just stained it. So we'll just clean that off real quick. All right, carburetor's all set to go. I guess I'll film, put it back on the machine, and I have a fuel filter to put in. So let me see if I have any other work to do, and we'll be back. Alrighty, we're over at the machine. We're gonna start putting it back together, and let's see. So we're gonna put the carburetor on the studs. There we go. That goes to the air filter. I'm just gonna push this and try to, well, it won't stay out of the way. All right, the biggest thing is the linkage. So here we go. We're gonna push this back here, up here, show up here. You have to open the butterfly linkage up, and then this linkage will plug in there, and then when you turn it, it locks in. So now we have that spring that you're gonna need a pair of needle nose to grab it. Why did it turn? And then you're gonna have to hook it here. All right, we have all the linkage hooked up. Now the carburetor just pushes right back on, and that's it. Ta-da. All right, so I do have the fuel filter. I don't have it. I must not have grabbed it. So now we're gonna go, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this fuel line back on. Oh, you know something before I do that? Oh, I blew that out. All right. So there's the fuel line. Squeeze the clampy. Put the clampy on. So now I got to figure out where to put that fuel filter. The problem is there's not a lot of room underneath this cover. So when you put this cover on here, let's see. I'm not putting this cover on permanently. I'm just putting it on here to try to get an idea of where I'm going to be able to put that filter. I think I can put it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this line and install the filter, and then we'll go ahead and finish putting the rest of the machine back together. So after I put the fuel filter in, we're going to put the air inlet housing, which really isn't an air filter, it's just an inlet housing. That goes back on. Actually, could I go ahead and just do that now? Here, let me just go ahead and do this now. We'll do the fuel filter afterwards. So that plugs in to there. Up there's a gasket here. Then this goes there. Then we have the 2 nuts that go on there. Luckily, this machine's so new, everything came right apart, so I didn't have to worry about having to get any gaskets. So go ahead. All right, so that's tight now. So now this piece comes down over top the choke rod. Now, I can't remember if that was in there. No, the wires were in there. These wires go into that little holder. All right, so that goes there. And it's held in by 2 Phillips screws. Actually, I do believe this went through there like that. These electrical wires go in that one. All right. All right, so like I said, I'm going to put the fuel filter in here. I'm just going to cut this here. Hopefully there's going to be enough room underneath this cover, which I think there is for the fuel filter. I did blow out the tank and clean out the tank the best I could. That's why I'm going to put a fuel filter on it. So once I put the fuel filter in, then we'll put this cover back on. I'll just come back and show you. I'm going to go and put the fuel filter in, and we'll be back. Alrighty, I went ahead and put the fuel filter on off camera. So what I did is I had to cut off about that much fuel line, and then I just used 2 screw clamps, and it's not hitting the on-off switch. So that's all good. So there's the fuel filter installed. So now all we have to do is go ahead and put the cover back on. Grab that. So cover goes this way. So you got to put your primer bulb rubber hose back on, which goes in here, which is going to be a pain in the butt. Okay, that's back on. Now we just have to line everything up. I hope that fuel filter is not in the way, which I don't think it is. No, it's not in the way. So why isn't it? Oh, well, there's a problem. All right. Looks like the wires have to go on the other side of that. Let's see, is that what makes a difference? Oh, and then the choke. There we go. There we go. All right. So now we have the bolts that hold that cover on. There's 4 of them. And
I do believe the short ones went here. And then the long ones go there. Yeah. Two, three, four. The run, choke, run, choke. Yep, that's got to be it. It's pointing the right way. All right, we're all ready to give this a test fire. We got to get some gas for it, and we will be back with firing up the machine, make sure it runs. Alrighty, as you see, we have the machine outside and we put gas in it. So let's see, we got the key in, we'll put it to rabbit, that's run, we got it on choke. Let's hit the primer bulb a couple times. All right, go ahead, Gigi. Shut it off for a second. All right, let's go ahead and let's try to start it with no choke now. Alrighty, everybody. That is what was wrong with this one. The carburetor was all clogged up because they left gas in it, obviously. And I made the float bowl point in the proper direction, I do believe. Yep, right there. They can drain the float bowl right there. I'm going to show the guy how to do that. The oil is nice and clean. You know, you can tell that this machine's like never been used. Look how clean it is. So it did kind of start hard the first couple times. I don't know, maybe we didn't need to use the choke, because the machine was sitting inside where it was nice and warm all night long. But now it seems to be starting up really easy. It does have electric start. So there you go. Another Craftsman 24-inch snow blower, clogged up carburetor repaired. All right, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. You can always subscribe right down there in that corner. Please give me thumbs up if you like the and more part of the channel of working on lawnmowers, tractors, snow blowers, blowers, and we will catch you on the next one. All right, everybody, thanks a lot for watching.